Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where I talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Jeff Haecker. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Jack.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
Today we're discussing the 18th episode of Season 8 of SG1. I feel like that's definitely a tongue twister there.
Yeah.
Threads. In this episode, we have the Jaffa battling against Anubis, which we can talk about all those scenes that get cut depending on which version of the episode you watch. We get Daniel in his trendy, very 1950s diner with Oma Dasala. We get to see Anubis in one of his many forms. And we finally get the end of Pete Shanahan, which,
Woo! Sorry.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Until season 10. Just kidding.
Oh, no.
Don't do that.
What are your thoughts on this episode, Jeff?
Yeah, this one's a fun one as well. It's a nice wrap up to the Anubis storyline. I think that we see some other versions or things Anubis related in later seasons, but this is like the last actual Anubis episode. And you get some great Daniel stuff, and we finally kind of comes to grips with Ascension and what you learn why he left or why he wanted to descend, because he couldn't believe that they would let Anubis do what he did and all that. And yeah, and it's a sad send off because we lose Jacob Carter as well. And yeah, it's a great episode. And I, before this, we were talking, I didn't realize there was an extended version of this episode because I was reading the wiki and there was stuff that I had never seen. And I know I've seen this episode a bunch. So I kind of want to track down the DVD with the extended cut that has more Jaffa stuff, because I think it'd be really interesting, because unfortunately a lot of that is just off screen, so you just hear about it, and there's just a couple scenes about it. You don't really see anything. So yeah, it's a good one, and kind of wraps up a lot of the storylines before we get into the finale, Mobius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and apparently, so it was a 63 minute long original cut, but then on the DVDs, like the DVD set, they just included the syndicated version, and this caused such an outrage that they had people, you could get a voucher to get the extended DVD sent to you. So, but yeah, no, it did feel like the Jaffa plotline and that big finale with Anubis was just kind of completely sidelined and came out of nowhere. So I feel like it would have been better with those scenes.
Yeah, it was like on Laverne and Shirley where they walk off like, we're going to go win the big game. And then they do like a flip cut and they're walking back in. It's like, we did not win the big game.
Yeah.
And they're all defeated. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What about you, Lisa?
It's funny. I watched it again, for this, and I didn't, there were so many, I would say, subplots that I just didn't remember, right? The Daniel in the diner stands out. But when I watched it again this time, I realized how many plot lines they were really wrapping up. I mean, it's we're at the end of season 8. I don't know if they knew they were having 9. They probably knew they weren't getting Richard Dean Anderson back, even if they were getting season 9. And it's almost like it was a preparation for the series finale. In a way it is, right? So you lose Selmac, you lose Pete Shanahan, they talk about Jack retiring, the Jaffa are free now. There's so much going on. And I think I like it better now than I did originally. I mean, I really come to appreciate what it means as an episode. And the fact that they end with all of them fishing at the cabin after, I don't know, I think it was season 3, the first time it was mentioned. So after 5 years of talking about it, so I love this. To me, this is a great kind of ending to the show, even though we know it goes on for 2 more seasons. But we don't have the Gould. We don't have Jack. There's so many changes. So I really like it.
Yeah, it's I guess that's why they call it Threads, because it's tying up all the loose ends.
Yes.
What about you, Victor?
Well, I am sitting in the morning at the diner on the corner. No, they should have called this one Tom's Diner by Suzanne Vega. Kids, look it up. It's a great song. If you haven't heard it before, you're missing out. No, I mean, I remember being very annoyed when this episode first aired, and I thought that for some reason, like the scenes in the diner just like stuck in my mind. And in my mind, whenever I think of season 8, I think of like 3 episodes of them sitting in the diner, which is not what we get. We only get the 1 episode. I was much less annoyed this time around. I'm very annoyed that I didn't watch the 63-minute version in preparation for this. I usually watch it first on like Amazon Prime, and so I get it in HD, and then I go back and watch the DVD to get the commentary, but there was no commentary this time around, so I think I missed out on watching the 63-minute version. So we do kind of get like the Jaffa talking about like, yeah, we're gonna go attack this base, and then it's like, oh, the attack on the base went horribly, and half of the Jaffa are dead. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
What happened? And but I do think they did. We'll get into this. I think they did Pete dirty in this episode. You know, yeah. But I do really like the Jim character, who is played by George Zunza. But yeah, I really like that, and they kind of the twist kind of comes out of left field, but it is kind of set up well. But you know, maybe in the longer version, the ending isn't quite so anticlimactic, but in the shorter version, it's kind of like, because, you know, Oma explodes Jim, I guess, by exploding herself inside of him. And you're like, oh, I guess that just happened briefly. But
yeah, I was going to say the Amazon version was not the 63 either.
No,
because that's the one I watched. It was a 43.
So I guess I'm going to have to, I can see the DVDs from where I'm sitting, but I don't feel like reaching over the microphone to grab and check if I have the right ones. But I will report back next time and try to watch the longer version.
I have no excuse because I had the DVD in my DVD player and I looked and there was like no commentary. So I was like, well, I'm off the hook for this week. But
and I haven't found my DVDs from my move yet, so I can't comment on that. But I do remember seeing the original cut in whatever year this was, 2005. Because when I read what was missing, I'm like, yeah, I know that. Because there are certain scenes I was watching this time around, and I'm like, wait a minute, doesn't Selmac give his opinion on Pete? I swear, it was like in my head, I'm like, I know that happened. And then it wasn't there. So then when I read that was one of the scenes cut, I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, that did happen.
In the version I watched, they were like, yeah, he's a nice guy, but but that was as much as they gave of his opinion.
Yeah, that was all
and
they
that
gave.
Was Jake, and that was Jacob
right.
giving his opinion too. So yeah.
Which, you know what's funny? I just thought about that. They said Selmac probably didn't speak. It was Jacob saying what Selmac thought. Because at that point, we didn't know that Selmac was in a coma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he slipped into a coma just after the attack on Dakar, after activating or like just before they got the weapon. So, very convenient timing that he held on until then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I rewound the episode a couple times because I felt like I was missing things. I was like, this doesn't. So it makes sense that there's a longer cut because it really does feel incomplete. Like you have this big climactic battle with Anubis, and it's completely cut.
So on the video version of the podcast, I'll include the full 63-minute cut after the. No, I won't.
Enjoy running
Sorry,
that
Dom.
DMCA notice. Dom.
Sorry, Dom.
Good luck. And like Agent Johnson. It's funny because we mentioned it a couple episodes ago that Jack mentioned that she was coming to the SGC for a meeting. And in my mind, I kept thinking, we've seen her more than just the little bit in this episode. And no, we didn't. But this episode, original cut, had them in bed together. So there was like earlier in the episode. So we knew they were in a relationship. You see them at the very beginning and then they had a scene. And then, so, there really was a little more to it than what we saw this time.
We had to make room for all of Oma Dasala's nothing burger statements in the diner.
Yeah. She doesn't do too much of that this time around. But no, you're right with Carrie or whatever her name is. Yeah, it's pretty much Carter sees her like in the background, says, "Who's that with Jack? I don't like that guy and her girl." And then And then like she goes over to Jack's. It's like, Pete bought me a house and I don't know. And then Carrie comes out and so it's like, you want a steak? And she's like, wah, and runs away. And that's pretty much it.
Well, except for her big scene with Jack about I really enjoyed our time, but you need to go,
Carrie,
like,
yeah.
you need
Carrie's
to go with her.
like, yeah, she's like, I work for the CIA, but I don't carry your baggage or something.
I just felt offended as a meat guy about on Jack's
Oh,
steak,
yeah.
burning it to a crisp and pouring beer over it as he's. I was just like, come on,
a barbecue.
Yeah.
And he goes camping. He camps. He fishes. I mean, well, I guess there's no fish in his pond, but I think he would know how to cook a little bit. But
yeah, work a grill.
And where is this cabin in relation to Colorado Springs? Because I know he has like a cabin in Minnesota or something, or he's from Minnesota, but this cabin is in Colorado Springs near the SGC, I guess. Because
I don't think they've ever.
Is Carter driving for like 2.5 hours to his cabin to talk?
Oh no, that
to
was
him?
his house.
That's the back.
He was at his house with Carrie,
Yeah.
and then at the end they were at the cabin. There's 2 different houses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know they're both brown.
And they both have decks on the back of them.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
kind of, why would you need a cabin?
Similar.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a pond with no fish in it at his house.
There you go.
Yeah, you could get like one of those little waiting, like plastic blue pools, and just.
I never made that connection that it's not the same house or the same cabin, and it's a different one. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I didn't either until Lisa mentioned it. So
Yeah, they're the two different places.
One of the things I find annoying about shows and movies now is that they put titles up on the screen. It's like they show the Eiffel Tower and then they'll put like Paris, France. It's like, or they'll be, it's like they'll show the Las Vegas Strip and they'll be like Las Vegas, Nevada, and you'll be like, yes, I know. But I think this episode actually could have benefited like Jack's house, Jack's cabin, and then maybe like the city it's near, so that I know like. How long did Carter have to drive there? Went like tears streaming down her face, like she just broke up with Pete, and then she gets there and she has to turn around and drive all the way back another, 2.5, 3 hours.
Oh, and evidently one of the scenes that was cut was her sitting in the car trying to get herself to go outside.
Ah, okay.
At his house. Remember, she says I've been sitting in the car for whatever. So there was a scene of her sitting in the car.
For 10 minutes in real time. That was 10 of the 63 minutes was just Amanda Tapping sitting in a car. No, I can't. No, I can't.
yeah, and the entire Pete like subplot we've had going throughout the show just comes to nothing, and it feels like, I guess it was supposed to be more like will they, won't they with her and Jack, but it just feels like wasted time now, and not really a lot of character development because we're kind of in the same place still. It didn't move the needle forward at all. They're still
they're together now. Didn't you see them at the cabin fishing
in physical proximity?
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
he had his arm around her when Jacob
true.
was dying. So,
and if you read what Joseph Malazzi has said about this, is that in his, I mean, it wasn't canon, of course, but like in his brain. This means they're together.
But Jack doesn't actually like retire, right? I mean, he's still a general. Like,
well, he goes. He goes
universe.
after Mobius. Yeah, he goes to be. I think he takes over Hammond's job, and then I think in Universe, maybe, or maybe in Atlantis, they say something about that she's in a relationship with someone in Washington or something, and so that's what everybody's assuming it's her and Jack. But I mean, never. I think you see Jack in season 9 of SG1, and I don't think he's in season 10. He may pop up in Universe once. I don't remember. But yeah, you never see them like any confirmation on screen. So
there is if you really want to dive deep into the internet, there are some freeze frame blurry shots of her her room on Atlantis. That allegedly people interpret it. It's a framed picture of the two of them together.
There's like a body pillow that looks like or something.
And do you have like a folder of all this evidence on your computer, Lisa?
All in my head. It was an obsession. So I didn't say that out loud, did I?
Yeah. So I guess it's okay if he's not in her chain of command, if he's like working in Washington, but General Landry comes in and it's okay. I mean, from what I've heard about the military now, it's like, people have relationships with their subordinates all the time now. So it's probably not as big of an issue as it was 20 years ago.
But that was the intention, that as I understood it from the interviews with Joseph Malazzi, that they're, this has been resolved.
Well, then it was a letdown of a resolution. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it's still like a very chaste relationship. It is kind of like junior high. It's like you were going with Pete, but now you're going to go with me.
They're mature adults.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack is very mature, right?
Yeah. The most mature character on the show.
It's funny. You're watching that Carrie Johnson and she's like, well, this is like, we really hit it off and this has been great. And I'm like, how old are you?
I know.
I mean, I didn't think about that when I was in my 20s, but now that I'm not in my 20s, I'm like,
there was like a 30-year difference there. I mean,
at least. Yeah.
I'm now going to look up the ages of the actors.
Yeah.
I think he was well into his 50s at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe not 30 years, but yeah, no, it's, I mean, granted, he's Richard Dean Anderson.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So
at this, so that whole aspect is weird, and don't make David DeLuise cry, or if you want to get on my good side, especially after he just bought you a house. Yeah. 17 years, especially after he just bought you a house. I do like how he takes the for sale, like it's the sold sign off the realtor sign. It still says for sale.
That's not how that works. You're going to have to talk to your realtor, man.
Yeah. Oops.
Control Z.
Well, I think too, I'm kind of headcanoning that she was remembering back to when she was under Fifth's like mental projection, because I think they had a dog on the farm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I think,
and a horse.
Yeah, I think him saying, we can get a dog and all, and this or that. I think that, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, she probably was remembering what she saw under Fifth, and maybe that's kind of poisoning that a little bit too.
In my dream, you made me have a dog, and so I'm blaming you for that.
And long hair.
Yeah.
Maybe it's her unresolved trauma from that whole situation got in the way of her and Pete.
Yeah.
I think it got too real, right? It was like, wait, hold on. Like, I actually have to move in with you and like have a dog. And
she loses her father and then like immediately gravitates towards the father figure in her life, which is Jack. Yeah.
I was going to look. I saw that he and Johnson were 17 years difference. Let's see what he had made at tapping her. Oh, they're 15 years.
Oh, okay. It's more acceptable.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, she was with, or she kind of dated Martu for a little while. And how old was he?
Like 1,000?
in the symbiote. And the ancient Orlin.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, she's getting closer and closer to her age as time goes on.
Maybe that's what the problem was. Maybe Pete was too normal, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is
Pete's a nice guy, but they didn't really have chemistry.
Mm-mm.
I feel like Pete would have gone with Carrie better than her.
So her dad is only like 6 or 7 years older than Richard Dean Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Carmen Argenzian. Yeah.
But you remember Richard Dean Anderson on the show is playing 10 years younger than he actually is. Because in the early seasons, they gave an age for him, and it was 10 years younger than, I think they said he was 40, and he was really 50 in real life.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't that bad of an age difference.
So 5 years.
Yeah.
According to the show. Okay.
My favorite was where she tells Pete, she's like, you're not like, this is not how I thought you'd take it. It's like she wanted him to get upset and cry and get up, like scream and yell or whatever. And he's just like, yep, I knew it. See you later.
Well, I mean, how was he? I mean, he does say like, how am I supposed to react? Which is like in that situation, it's like, how are you supposed to react? Like,
And she was mad that he was fine.
Well, it obviously wasn't fine because he like took the for sale sign off the thing, but
yeah.
Maybe the reboot should just be about Pete's life going forward.
yeah.
Stargate Pete.
Maybe
Stargate
he's the
Pete.
new villain. Like this turned
he's-
him, and he got together with like Replicarter, and like they took over the world with a dog.
A replication dog.
Oh, the dog. Yeah.
There's a multiverse out there where Sam and Peter are together.
Yeah, and they have kids, and they're like Stargate: The Next Generation.
And she's miserable.
Yeah. No. Pete has a lot to offer any woman. A house, for starters. Gosh.
That's true.
Can you
And a
imagine?
nice house.
Yeah.
I mean, in this economy, yeah.
Yeah. In this economy, can she say no? She's not getting any younger.
Okay, if we have any female fans, they're like, wait a minute.
No, I think the female fans will agree with me that Pete is quite a catch, and that
We want to hear.
that she could do a lot worse than that.
Well, she's done worse, right?
Yeah, she
Orlin.
has. It's not Orlin.
True.
It's not the crazy doctor who wanted to put a gold in her head, or the crazy millionaire. Yeah, Fifth. Yeah.
Or what about the dude in the very beginning that she was engaged to, the one that thought he was a god and like was killing off all the slaves? Remember the planet that was dark, and then the sun came out. It like blistered you. I think that episode was like 10 Commandments or something. She,
Oh yeah.
first season.
And then they fell into the hole. You know,
Uh-huh.
Stargate was in the ground. Yeah.
So she's
Yeah, that's
she's
a good
known
point.
for
Yeah.
yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm putting a call out to all our female listeners. What is your opinion of Pete? Does the house counteract his Pete-ness?
Does it counteract the stalking?
He's
So-
goofy, lovable. He's like a puppy dog, you know.
I just want to know what this means for his whole like knowing about the Stargate program. They
Oh,
don't have
yeah.
Sam there to keep an eye on him anymore, and he has all this highly classified information, knowledge. Like, are they going to come Men in Black him now with a little like
Yeah.
analyzer
Analyzer.
thing?
Especially like, what if the breakup's ugly and he's mad and starts running at the mouth, right?
He puts it all on Discord.
Yeah.
He'll put it out on forums, and Martin.
Yeah,
will
he
read
could do
it,
like
and-
what is it, like blue text, or what is that called on Reddit, where it's like be me, like date a woman who works at SGC.
Oh,
She
the
decides to
4chan.
date she decides to date superior officer. I get mind wiped or something. You know, they do those whole things, but
Do you have any experience with that?
not writing them. No, but they're fun to read.
Well, and we didn't talk about Jacob's reaction to Pete, which I thought was classic.
Yes.
What?
He was
He's
not a fan.
nice.
Well,
Yes.
Pete comes in saying, "So you really got one of those things in your head?" And like just being as cringy as possible. And I mean,
Calling him weird.
It's endearing. It's guy to guy, you know. It's like, hey, I heard you had a snake in your head, big fella. You know,
I feel like if you're talking to your
it's how guys talk to each other.
locker room talk or whatever,
Not when you meet the potential father-in-law
Pretty
for the
close
first
to the actual locker room there.
Sure.
so when you're talking to your father-in-law, tell him how weird he is because he has an alien parasite in his head, which
Yeah.
to be fair is weird, but I don't know.
Yes, if it just freaks him out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think
I
the
think-
women are going to be more upset that Isaac Hayes isn't in this episode if you watch the short version. Which confused me because on the DVD he's in the thumbnail, and it really confused me because he's not in the 45-minute version as Tolok.
Mm.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
in I don't know if I've ever seen the full cut, because I know I watched it on TV when it premiered, but I don't remember any of those scenes. But in there's a whole thing where Teal'c and Braytak are named Bloodkin as they're kind of like anointed as leaders of the this new Jaffa nation, which will come into play a lot in the next 2 seasons. But yeah, all that's cut out, and that would have been cool to see. And I mean, I want to try to find this DVD version now and watch it, because I don't know that I've ever seen it. But yeah, that would have been cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I did some searching, and you can't find it like anywhere on any of the streaming services. They just have the syndicated version. So think unless you have the DVDs.
Yeah. I'll see if I have the longer version on my DVD here. But I mean, everything we've been talking about has kind of been the B plot, right? Because the A plot is Daniel talking to Oma and Jim in the diner. And Jim is kind of this, he looks like a used car salesman, kind of a beefy guy he just wants his coffee refilled, but Oma won't serve him until later on in the episode. And he's reading a newspaper, which seems to change every few minutes. And it's how Daniel and then we, the audience, know that, you know, the attack on, or how Anubis is planning to retake Dakara to use, which we heard a little bit about in Reckoning, to basically reset all life in the universe and remake it in his image. Kind of like how the ancients already did, but it's wrong when Anubis does it. And and the newspaper changes, and that's how we learn that the attack on Dakara, you know, the Jaffa aren't doing very well. And if you pause it on the newspapers, there's a lot of really fun, you know, content on the various newspapers that, you know, the writers and stuff have put in on the show. But
including that the Wraith are headed to Atlantis, which I thought was interesting that was on one of the pages.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just like that it said yoga is not the path to enlightenment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the reason we spent so much time on the Pete B plot is because that was much more interesting than anything that happened with Daniel and Diner.
I mean, I liked it a lot better this time around. I was very annoyed by it last time, but now, I mean, once you kind of know the twist that Jim, the big beefy affable sales guy, is really Anubis, who can move into kind of the semi-ethereal realm and then go and then go back to being the drippy guy that he is in real life. That's kind of, you kind of look for, you look for more into it. You're like, oh, what's Jim doing now? Is he going to be sneaky in Anubis? And I do like how, you know, it's basically has saved Daniel's life twice now is, you know, Oma basically choosing to ascend him or bring him back. Although I don't know exactly how he got back this time, is basically what created Anubis as well. So it's Oma's, desire to help lesser beings ascend, and she made a bad call with Anubis, which has had lasting repercussions, which she is able to remedy by the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is funny because I'm with you. When I saw this originally, it irritated me. And I've watched it more recently, but I will be honest, I fast forwarded through all of the diner scenes. Oh, not this time. I'm like 6 months ago when I watched it, I fast forwarded through all of the diner scenes. So watching it, like making myself watch it again, I was surprised that, I mean, they really went into how Ascension works. Why is, I was going to call her Osama. Or Obama.
Osama Obama.
Like, why is she in trouble? And then the reveal that he's Anubis, but not just that, but that she's the one who helped him ascend, and that Daniel knew all of this before and has had his mind wiped. You know, and this is the second time around. And so watching it again and just being patient with it, I really did enjoy it a lot more, the way that they revealed things. I thought it was a nice twist. But there's so much else going on in this episode that the diner just feels really slow.
It does. And I think maybe when I watched the longer cut and like all this stuff with the Jaffas happening, and then they cut to the diner, I was like, no, cut back to, you know, Isaac Hayes and stuff. But with all that cut out now, all you have is the diner scenes. And maybe that's why it's like, oh, this is just a diner episode now with some like, there's this girl who Jack may or may not be dating in the background, and
Pete.
I do like the diner. I like the hints that because it starts out, no one is talking to Daniel except Oma, and the only other person talking is Jim, and there's already an antagonistic relationship there. So if you don't know it's Anubis, it's interesting to, you know, I've seen this and knew the whole time, but yeah, it's interesting watching it back and seeing the hints, and Jim kind of slowly becomes more. He's kind of more friendly to Daniel than, you know, the other ancients, and you're like, oh, who is this guy? And then eventually, and he keeps leaving and coming back so you can, think about it as he's going to do the attack on Dakar. And then he's going to come back and, and you kind of think he's just doing it to, annoy Daniel and Oma a little bit to kind of rub it in their face. And by the end of it, he completely is rubbing it in their face and calling the Jaffa stupid and stuff like that. But, and it's, and Oma won't come out and tell Daniel. Like, it has to be, like, Daniel has to figure it out with Anubis's kind of prompting. So, she's kind of ashamed of it and as well. So yeah, I do like kind of the interactions back and forth, and I think probably a lot of it was probably to save some money overall, just because they did the previous episode was effects heavy. And I don't know if I've seen the full cut, but I don't know if they did a whole lot of effects heavy stuff. So this one kind of seemed like a bottle episode to save some money, even though it was in multiple locations, but just to save money for Mobius coming up.
Yeah. Apparently the set they used for the diner is from the show Dead Like Me.
Yeah, when they bought, I think, was it Bridge Studios or Norco, or they bought a studio basically because they needed, more studio space, and it was basically what Dead Like Me had shot on. So there was like a bedroom scene we saw earlier, I think with like a kid's bedroom or something, or the house that was with Homer Simpson, that one. And then
Citizen
the diner,
Joe,
yeah, Citizen Joe, yeah, those sets were from Dead Like Me. So if you watched Dead Like Me, the diner set would be very familiar, because that's where all the Reapers would get their assignments and stuff, and talk about the morality of what they had to do.
Nice. Yeah, and I know this is the last we see of Oma, and I was gonna say I feel like her ending was a little bit anticlimactic.
Yeah, she squids out and climbs into Anubis, and then they both go poof. And then I guess that's the end of Anubis too.
Yeah. But I thought that Mel Harris's performance in this episode was her absolute best. I mean, if you go back and you watch her facial expressions, you watch the way, she changes her manner of speaking, like when she says, my dogs are tired, and, all these different things. It was she, with such a little amount of speaking, and she gave a really great performance as Oma, and it made me sad to see her go, after all this.
Yeah, and it was interesting too, even when she was doing like the diner lingo and like with the order and stuff, you could tell like, and I think this was a conscious decision on Mel Harris's part, that there was somebody putting on like a diner persona. Like she wasn't an actress playing somebody who had worked in a diner. She was playing an actress playing somebody who was playing at working in a diner. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Gave her a lot more to do than she normally has had, just being kind of ethereal.
Yeah, and very straight talking. I mean, she only did the once where he was questioning, how do I know you're you and not Replicator messing with me? And so I forgot what she said, but she started
Something
doing
about a river.
Yeah.
You don't know how deep the river is until you step in, or something.
Yeah. And then she order up and she disappears again.
Yeah. If your nose is running and your feet are smelling, you're upside down or something.
There should be an Oma DeSalo saying generator out there that
There you go.
spits out.
I feel like that would just be the Jaden Smith tweets.
Yeah.
Was this Ball's last? This is not Ball's last episode, right?
No. He's in a couple SG1, and then he's in Continuum.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. It wasn't the end of Cliff Simon on the show. So
yeah.
But there was a lot. I mean, a lot of people. They're done. I mean, this was Jacob, obviously. So it was, like I said, just kind of wrapping up a whole series, and then we get a really, really fun episode next time.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Yeah, Jacob, Pete, Oma, Anubis. Just clearing the table.
What about Braytag?
Yeah.
No,
he's back.
He's back, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because he's part of the Jaffa politics and stuff going on.
Yep.
Game of stomach pouches.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Jaffa are all free now. We forgot to mention that. They're done.
They're no longer under the thumb of the Gould.
And I predict that that they have glorious future ahead of them, no problems whatsoever. All the Jaffa will live peacefully for at least the next 6 months.
Yeah, and Daniel, as we know, he descends again and
Naked again.
in
Gets
his
renuded.
Yeah.
renuded. Fortunately, he didn't pop in right into the conference room. He
Oh, yeah.
was able to do it out in the hallway and get that flag.
That was awesome that Jack wouldn't accept that he was dead. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the whole time Jack's like, he's not dead, you know. And then in that scene, they're like, what do you think happened? Do you think it was? Maybe it was? Nah, you know. And then Daniel's in the other room.
Yeah, I do like how at the beginning we get like Jack going like any minute he's going to come walking through that door, and they show the door for like 2 beats.
Yeah.
Because in the past, every time it's like, you know, Carter's going to come right, and then, you know, Thor will beam her down or something, but he obviously doesn't come walking in. And then at the end, he does come walking through the door, you know, wrapped in, at least he didn't grab the American flag.
Oh, yeah. Well, you see him look, like he looks at it, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because at first Jack just hears his voice and he's thinking he's hallucinating because he's hallucinated Daniel more than once when he was ascended.
Yeah.
So, like, can everybody else hear that?
Yeah, that was good.
Yep, I was. I think for all the different plot lines it had to juggle, I think it did a good job with all that.
Yeah. Definitely watch the longer version, which I will do right after this.
Yeah, I want to see all the extra stuff that got chopped out.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Did we have any fun alternate language titles?
Yeah,
for this
we
one?
did. It was pretty interesting, actually. So this was called Threads, obviously in English. In French, it's Pour la vie or For Life. In Spanish, Cabos Sueltos, which is loose ends. So literally tying up the loose ends. And then German, it's called Jim.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, Jim.
Yeah.
The guy from The Thing. But yeah.
I want to know the thought process behind picking that name.
I don't know. There must have been one person like sitting in some like studio somewhere who's like, I don't know.
They're like, Threads, that doesn't really translate. Let's do something else.
They lost their German to English dictionary that day.
It's also possible that they had to rename the episode for like TV guides and stuff before they had a chance to see them too, and so maybe they would just look down the list of characters. But I don't know.
True.
It's like Oma. Nah, I've seen her before.
Yeah,
How about Jim?
Yeah,
probably
At
already.
least they didn't call it
used that
Pete.
Yeah.
Pete is gone.
Auf Wiedersehen, Pete.
Pete buys a house.
So true.
And then sells it apparently just by removing the sign.
Yeah, I mean,
Pete's house flipping.
Poor
yeah,
Pete.
apparently. I mean, yeah, depending on the market, he could come out ahead on this.
Well, I'm sure Colorado has a good. Well, 2005. I don't know what their market was like, but
Yeah. Did he ever like spring for a real engagement ring, or did he just give her like the onion ring or whatever it was at the time? Because I think she had a ring, but I don't know if he like bought her like the real ring. Didn't he take like a fake ring off something and like?
I think so. She probably bought her own ring.
Yeah.
Because you didn't see her taking it out. Let me give it back to you. She's probably like, nope, mine.
Now, see, if he'd been really smart, he could have had like a custom made ring that looked like the Stargate.
Oh,
that's true.
See? And he remembered, you get that? He remembered exactly what her dream house was. And he found it and bought it without telling or asking. All modern, like strong women love that.
I mean, if somebody bought me a house, I wouldn't necessarily complain.
I don't know. I want to pick it out. Have a say so.
They moved everything else in, like while I didn't have to do any of it.
Well, I'm sure she was going to have to help with the mortgage payment.
Yeah,
so I'm just saying, like,
yeah, that's true.
They were going to have to paint the kitchen or whatever you had to paint.
Yellow.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Notice he mentioned the kitchen first, not cool Pete.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's got a big kitchen for you to cook in.
Yeah, now take those shoes off.
Take those shoes off.
Pete's probably big on the trad wife.
Trad
Twitter these
wife.
days.
There you go. Here's a sourdough starter. Get at it.
Yeah, you should have bought her like a one of those hobby farms or something, right? And here's 20 chickens. You just have to be over every morning at 4:30 to collect the eggs. And occasionally, sometimes they'll need to die. So if you could make them dead when that needs to happen, that would be great.
She'd probably do that. She'd probably be like,
Yeah.
this one's named Pete.
Yeah.
If you can
two
implode
Zats kills. 3 Zats
Wonder what
fricassees or
that does
whatever.
to the taste of the meat. Just zap
Yeah.
them.
Can't imagine. It's probably is like the consistency of spam after that.
They're doing some great things with spam nowadays. They like there's like many different kinds of flavors.
Huh.
It's worth looking up.
I think we need to have a spam segment on the show now.
Yeah.
Every week, Victor will tell
Yeah.
us the latest updates in spam.
Do they have
tell
pumpkin
you.
flavor?
No, I don't know, but they have like a maple syrup one. What you got to do is you go to the big box stores and like the current spam flavor that isn't selling, they'll sell it for like 50 cents a tin, and then you just stock it up, put it in your pantry, and at the what is it called, like the end of the world as we know it, you'll have like maple syrup flavored spam to eat. That'll be at that point 15 or 16 years old, but so follow me for more.
So when the
Prepping
world
tips.
comes to a cataclysmic, final, I'm not going to Victor's house.
Well, no, and of course I'm not doing any prepping or storing up any supplies, so you wouldn't want to come here anyway. So
okay. You're not stocking up on spam.
no, nobody is, as far as I know.
For the post-apocalyptic wasteland, Victor will be the spam king.
Yeah, I'll be the spam
throne
king
made out of those tins.
Yeah,
I think my 20-year-old son likes spam. I hear that he.
kids love it.
Yeah.
Like you cook it
He
up
makes
in a
stuff
cast
with it.
iron skillet.
Yeah.
You just like slice it, and kids, kids go nuts for that.
Puts it in his ramen. Yeah.
I've never had spam. I've never tried
You're
it.
missing out.
I
Yeah,
don't know if I have either. It's not spam,
Okay.
but my kids love Vienna sausages,
Oh,
and
yeah.
those are,
My son loved
Yeah.
those too. Yeah.
those are every time I have
I
to
will
open
get
one,
it.
I'm just like,
I'll get a can of spam and I will try it before the next episode and report back.
yeah.
They probably took a
Okay.
whole lot of spam to Atlantis, right?
You'd think so.
Yeah.
And Rodney ate it all.
Getting his fair share in.
Stargate Spamlantis.
Yeah.
Anyways, way
Yeah.
off the rails. But yes, we do want to hear all our listeners' opinions on Pete, and also, I guess, on spam. Because
Recipes.
yes, spam recipes that Carter can cook in her kitchen.
Yay.
Before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of Stargate and I guess the secrets of spam, including Donald M., Sandra M., Haley H., Tess W., and Philip G. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give and be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. And you can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on X at SQPN. And if you want to talk about spam recipes, you can come check out our Discord at sqpn.com/Discord. I think there is actually a food talk channel there, so that would be
Oh,
legitimate.
nice.
There you go.
Yeah. We'll be back next time and we'll be discussing the next episode of Atlantis, The Gift. Until then, Jeff Haecker, thank you for joining me and sharing the secret to Stargate.
thanks, Jack.
And Lisa Jones, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack. And I'll have truth with a side order of clarity and spam, please.
Coming right up. Once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to Secret to Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?